This episode of Lords of the Storm is brought to you by our sponsors over at Patreon, where you, yes you, can also support the show. Just head over to patreon.com/Lords of the Storm to become a patron today.
This podcast is a production of HeroesHearth Entertainment. Check out all of our other shows at HeroesHearth.com. Welcome, Hearthlings.
Heroes, gather tribute and earn my favor. What do you say? Are you ready to begin?
What is up, everyone, and welcome to episode 200 of Lords of the Storm, a Heroes of the Storm podcast. My name is Greg Gizmozord Parker, and I'm joined tonight, of course, by the Zord Lords themselves, Mr. Kevin Multizord Ellis and Ryan TBKZord Reader. And on this week's episode, we celebrate 4 years of Blizz Heroes podcasting action. We talk the latest and possibly largest balance patch that hit today. We discuss some Friday night fights and Sylvanas in this week's Hero of the Week. And we have a ton of codes to give away in celebration. Thanks very much to Blizzard for those. So keep an eye on chat, and we'll go into further details on how you can win some of those if you're not at the live show here in a bit. But before we get into that, let's check in with the other Zords tonight. TBK, how are you doing? What have you been up to this last week?
I have been doing well. I have been up to Heroes. I worked on Team League a little bit more, trying to push that D4 currently. What else have I been doing? I've been playing some Warframe. I really like that game. It's been a lot of fun. I've been playing some Guild Wars 2 to get my MMO fix, and I just started trying out They Are Billions, which is like an RTS survival game. It's apparently super, super hard. And
was it super hard?
I lost the first game in 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sure.
On the easy difficulty.
Huh. Sounds like not a game for Gizmo.
Partially, I didn't know what I was doing, but partially, zombies came and killed me.
Do you have to have crazy like APM or something?
No, it's. I think it's strategy.
I do like zombies, but I'm not a big RTS
It seems fun.
guy.
It seems fun. I like it.
Fair enough. Multi, how are you? What have you been up to this last week?
I'm doing quite well, and I haven't RTS since StarCraft Brood War, like when it first came out. So, just not usually my thing either. But yeah, I mean, if it's just a strategy based and it's not all about APM, I could maybe check that kind of thing out. No, I've been good. So, been playing a little bit of Heroes for sure. But so TBK, you say you've been pushing for D4, right? I've been pushing that D3 on Switch, my friend.
That's right.
So, yep. Got my Demon Hunter now in the new season up to 70 on I think it was the second day. So that was cool. I just joined a bunch of quick match games, Gizmo, if you haven't done it yet.
I got up to Paragon like 120 today.
Oh, okay. Well, then fine. you're good to go then. Get any cool set pieces yet?
The starter set for Crusaders, pretty OP for a starter set. It's a Bless Hammer one. So like as soon as I hit that spike, I went from T1s up to like T8 or T9.
Nice. Is that the set that comes with the season?
Yeah.
Yeah. I need to actually buckle down and get that, but whatever. It's not the best set for Demon Hunters anyway, so whatever. Anyway, no, so that's been good. And but yeah, Hearthstone for sure as well, as I'm sure I'll cover in Hearth Casual this week. I've been playing a lot of WoW lately, and I think I want to stick with it for a while. Like, it's been a lot of fun. I had kind of thrown away Wild as an approach for me for a while. At one point, I had even dusted all of my Wild cards so that I could push better in Standard, but I'm starting to turn around on that. It's actually a lot of fun to get in there and get my butt handed to me by big priests.
There were so many wilds and while in that 30 to 45 seconds that it really messed me up.
You gotta listen for the D's.
Yeah.
That's what you gotta do. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Hearthstone, I just fell off that game hard. I've thought about going back a few times, and I don't think I will. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fair.
Yeah, but for me, it has been Heroes and Diablo on Switch. As I had just mentioned, I got up to 70 in Paragon, 120-something, pushing the grind right now, trying to get up past that Greater Rift 60. I got my butterfly wings for the season, and I think I'm actually going to hop on PC so I can get the butterfly wings there too, because they're real cool. You can be a little butterfly.
You can. And should.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they're very goofy looking
don't you
in the
judge.
game, for sure.
Yeah, and I did my color palette matches my wings. I'm like a little armored Pokemon.
Yeah, or like a Brightwing.
Yeah.
Monarch Brightwing.
Perfect. You could do a wizard, and you could be Brightwing, kind of. Get some of those spells. You can zip around and
Lob things
throw
at people.
orbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have gotten some more time on PC this week. My brother actually came in town, and I set up my Oculus, which has been in its box since I moved. And surprisingly, so I had mentioned, I don't know how long ago when on the show when I talked about my Rift, I didn't really have issues with motion sickness except for like the super extreme games. And I tried those out again, and I don't know if it's just like for me taking a break, it's completely gone. So I can play like anything now, and it's super cool. And Beat Saber is super dope. It's super hot. It's super dope.
I've heard good things about the Beat Sabers.
I really need to try it too, because I was decent at like Guitar Hero back in the day, and I feel like I would be at lightsabers too if given the chance in real life. So yeah, I'm on board.
Yeah, it's really good. And they just added, I mean, there's mods in that game to where there are endless songs that you can add, but they officially added the KDA, I don't know what that song's called, that big one that League of Legends did. It's a pretty good song, not gonna lie. But yeah, I've actually been in town for more than a week this time, so there's been more gaming to be had. But this isn't just a gaming show. This isn't a Diablo show. It's not a Hearthstone show. This is a Heroes show. So let's go ahead and hop on in to some of the news. All right. First up, as we have mentioned on this show a couple times already, and probably the 10 previous shows, it is episode 200, and it's not exactly 4 years, but it's like a week and a half off.
Pretty close. Yeah, pretty
it's close enough. And we've been talking about what we possibly wanted to do for this, and we never really came to a conclusion, because episode 100, we did like a big discussion on the path, I guess, from 1 to 100, the journey. And we kind of want to do that again, but at the same time, it's not as different this time, because episode 1, we literally had no idea what we were doing. You could still argue we have no idea what we're doing, but we at least kind of know, I guess. We've made it 200 in. And I don't know, I don't know about you guys, but this week, kind of leading up to it, I have been, in retrospect, this second 100 episodes definitely went by so much faster than the first 100. And
totally agree.
But it's the 4 years, I think, that really hits me. Like, all 4 of the years have flown by.
I didn't even think, like, I mean, people typically think of, like, at the 50 mark, 100, 150, 200. These are some of the big milestones for podcasts in general. Not every show gets there in the first place. But yeah, that for some reason still doesn't hit me as much as the 4-year thing. Like, I mean, we've been doing this since the Tech Alpha now, and if we've just been along for the whole ride the whole time. Like, you could go back and pull up an episode from any point in any of that and get like, what were our thoughts on the birth of the HGC as well as the death of it and things like that. So like, it's just kind of crazy to me. I don't know. I'm with you on that though, for sure.
Yeah. I don't. TBK have which one has
It was super funny because speaking of going back, I actually went back to like my BattleNet transaction log.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
And I found like the original purchases I made back in Tech Alpha, because I've still got those transactions. It was a gold purchase.
Oh yeah,
because you used to you purchased everything with gold, or you purchased some stuff with gold, like heroes, like you can still do, and it actually logged to your BattleNet transaction log. And so it was Nova.
Oh, God.
Your first purchase was Nova.
First purchase was Nova.
I should have known.
I'm curious now. I've almost done that. Like, I've gotten to the screen, just because every once in a while I become curious on how much money I've spent on heroes, but I always close it before I actually look it up. So maybe I can just like open it up and close my eyes and scroll down or whatever to the first purchase, because I'm actually curious about that. Because it's been long enough. I don't remember. Did heroes come? So Raynor was free. Was it just Raynor and then you had the free hero rotation?
I believe
back in Tech Alpha?
I seem to think so, yeah. I mean, there weren't as many heroes then, of course. So
yeah.
The hero rotation that existed was, like, I think a fair third of what was out. So it wasn't too hard to, like, experiment around, wait a couple weeks to get what you wanted to try out and that kind of thing. It was pretty easy to get in there and do that sort of thing back in the day. But yeah, no, that's probably true.
I looked it up. I was wrong. I actually spent real money. This is when heroes were $10 a piece.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So and it was still Nova. I bought Nova for $9.99 on April 30th, 2014.
Oh wow.
My very first heroes transaction was April 30th, 2014.
Yeah, and that's
And then I bought the Diablo bundle also on April 30th for $18.95, and then I bought Muradin for 2,000 heroes gold on April 30th.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. That was my initial foray into heroes.
And where's this transaction history again?
It's
I'm
just
asking
in
for a friend.
your BattleNet account.
Just the account. Okay.
Log in. There's a transaction history button. And
that is a button I've never wanted to click.
Oh yeah, I know. I will
for now.
Sometime last year, I went back and I added up all that I spent on heroes from that very first transaction all the way through.
How did that go for you?
It's more than I'm willing to admit.
Did you then look at your bank account and try to find patterns, or like a 1-to-1? Because I would do that.
How much money would I have right now?
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
It's like your car breaks down and you're like, I could have fixed that.
Yeah,
I totally had one I didn't fix.
Could I have built a new computer? Maybe.
Could I have paid off my credit card? Absolutely. Yeah, those are, just things that are better not to think about when it comes to free-to-play games.
But that's the idea, right?
Yeah, that's true. If I had to guess, I think my first purchase would have been either Lili or Nazebo, because those are the two big ones that I was playing for a long time. But anyways, yeah, the 4 years has flown by. It's been mind-blowing. 200 episodes is pretty mind-blowing to me as well. And in all honesty, the only reason we have been able to do this for 200 episodes and 4 years is because of the Blizzard community, the Heroes community. You guys have been awesome. I remember when we posted episode 1, I don't think we really had any expectations. And I actually meant to go and look up and see what our first episode was, like as far as download numbers. But I want to say like it had gotten up to like 20 or something on the first day. And we were like, holy crap, like 20 people downloaded this. How the heck did they find it? I don't know.
It's like,
why would they want to listen?
Yeah. And to just watch it grow has been a very humbling experience, for sure. And it's become part of life, I don't know what I would do on Wednesday nights.
It's just a normal Wednesday routine now.
Yeah, without Heroes of the Storm. So,
Seriously, when people ask me like and this happened this week because we had a bunch of people in for this training event at work, and they went around the group and they asked everyone like, "Oh, what's one fun fact about you?" And I'm like, "I do a gaming podcast and it's going pretty well, and we're on episode 200." You know, like it is just kind of part of. That's how I think about myself now, which is kind of cool. And the other thing I wanted to point out too that kind of surprised me in this whole process. So like really early on in the show, and like when we were coming up with the idea to even do this in the first place, everything was up in the air in terms of like, do we go by our Zord names? Do we not? What do we name the show? Like, what's our general idea behind what we're doing and all this stuff? And so we did land on the Zord thing. And it's because, I mean, if you guys don't know, and I know some people don't know, because I totally saw someone in the chat earlier who was like, "Hey, I see everyone's name ends in Zord, so good catch." And the reason why is, so we're just like a kind of smaller local gaming group of friends that played Vanilla WoW together initially, and then, of course, a bunch of stuff in the, 14, 15 years since then. And so, but so like, when we were starting to come up with the show idea, I think it was you, Gizmo, who turned the corner and said, "No, we got to embrace the Zord thing, and we got to call it Lords of the Storm because the guild name and everything was Zord Lords." And at the time I was kind of hesitant. I was like, I mean, yeah, that's cool for us, but like, is anyone gonna care that we're Zords or about this just like kind of smaller Kansas City based gaming group? And it turned out honestly that like, I'd be interested to hear if you guys had the same experience, but it seems like now, if we go somewhere like BlizzCon or whatever, we walk into a room and someone from another podcast or whatever recognizes us, they're always like, "Oh yeah, it's the Zords." And like, I don't know, with that and the people getting their Zord titles like through our Discord and the Patreon and everything like that, it seems like people have genuinely cared about the Zord thing. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm sure it's different on a person-to-person basis, but like, it's meant more to have it in there than I think it would have if we'd taken it out in retrospect. And that actually like means a lot to me because it's something I've been going by for 15 years.
Yeah, it's a gaming group that's been around, like you said, for 15 years.
Yeah.
Like this is part of the gaming group itself is part of a lot of our histories in a lot of ways.
It's how we all met, for sure.
Yeah. Over 10 years ago for me. So also fun fact of the podcast, we have missed less than 5 episodes
in those 4 years.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. For like holidays, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was never like a full on, or was there one that we ever just fully said,
There was one or two that it was like really crazy and like everyone was sick or something like that.
Yeah.
Or people had emergencies, or I don't remember exactly, but I think we've missed less than 5 total.
You remember that one where so it was right after the Dark Nexus announcement, and we were part of that Dark Nexus stream.
Oh, the tornado.
And so the tornado came through really close, specifically really close to where like Gizmo and I live, if I remember right. And yeah, it was kind of funny because like we had everything ready to go for that episode in terms of we were going to dress up like super dark goth themed for it and everything.
Yep.
But then the tornado started rolling through, and eventually we were like, guys, I don't think we can do this. So I think we were on the verge of just not doing one that week. But then like everything passed, everything was cool, but it was like past the regular stream time and everything. And so at TBK, I think you were the one who said, can we just do like a... Yeah,
we just recorded an offline episode and threw it up because, screw storms.
Yeah.
Tornadoes aren't a big deal. Someone was asking in chat if we've ever done it solo. We haven't. I think the closest we got to that is I ran it solo with a guest, Jeff Reynolds.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So me and Jeff Reynolds, who previously of the Heroes Forge podcast, which they're not doing that one anymore, but you can go back. That one's really kind of a timeless podcast because they do hero concepts. So it's always fun to go back and listen to that, or if you haven't listened to it before, it's just fun inspiration. But there was 1 week where both of you guys couldn't make it, and so Jeff came on and we duoed it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the week That's because we used to do. Longtime listeners know back when it mattered a lot more. We used to do the free hero rotation and the store sales as part of our news and stuff. And so when I had Jeff on, Jeff is one of my favorite human beings ever, and so he's very presentation based. And so we started, and I was like, "Hey Jeff, you want to do the hero rotation, the free hero rotation?" And he just like spiced it up and knocked it out of the park, and I was just like, "Holy crap, Jeff! You're really putting the pressure on Multi when he gets back."
And
he did, honestly, because I listened to that episode. That was a week that I was out traveling for work in Seattle, and so I listened to it while in stopped traffic heading down to Seattle from like some of the towns up north of there, and yep, it was. As I was sitting there listening to him do that, I was like, "Oh man, the bar is just too high now." Like, I don't think I can
raised it really high,
and I don't think I ever got there because we canceled that segment well before I could.
Yeah.
Random aside, though, I dug into my purchase history just now, and I just want to say, my first purchase on this account anyway, Diablo 3, May 13th, 2012. Then Diablo 3, Reaper of Souls, March 3rd, 2014, followed by Arthas for 7,000 Heroes Gold. And that was on July 20th, 2014. I then got the Arthas Master Skin on September 8th, 2014. So there.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Maybe I'll look at mine at some point here.
It's pretty fun. It actually gives you the purchases, and then these gold purchases,
like the gold
in here
purchases
too.
Yeah, because it used to track
nice.
it used to track all the gold purchases.
Very interesting. No, I do want to go back here just a little bit. In one, going back to having not missed more than 5 episodes this entire time. There's not a lot of podcasts that can do that, but thankfully, because both Multi and TBK are extremely dedicated to this podcast, when there's been weeks where I have missed, being the producer of this show, they have been able to step up and have the show go on, especially these past couple months with my new job where I've been traveling. It's super awesome, and it takes a little bit of stress off me because I don't like missing this show. I really enjoy doing it, but I know that it's in good hands for when I'm not here, so I really appreciate that. And then back to the title, Lords of the Storm. So I remember when I was trying to think of this, and I wanted it to be something that combined both Zord Lords and Heroes of the Storm. A lot of people think the Zords is the whole Power Ranger thing, which is not. But I had Googled Zord, and I believe it was like the Urban Dictionary or something came up, and it was, I don't remember it exactly, but it's like a person who thinks they're greater than they truly are or something, or a person who thinks they're better than they are. So I was like, oh, yeah, Zords, that makes perfect sense. Zord Lord, Lord of the Storm, or the Zord Lords of the Storm. We think we're better at Heroes of the Storm than we actually are. We're going to talk about it like we know what we're talking about. So
that was kind of the original genesis of the show. Yep.
Yeah. But no, we know a little bit now, just a little bit. But again, 200 episodes, 4 years. It's all thanks to all of you guys that are listening to the show and everyone who's supported us in various ways. So
I'm not laughing at that because we love everybody who supports us and listens. But just out of curiosity, I looked it up on Urban Dictionary.
Just for fun.
Yep.
Okay.
And the top one is a colossal assault vehicle used by the Power Rangers. See also
accurate.
Megazord. And the second one is childhood game of fashioning the largest, clunkiest Legos into crude spacecraft. To play the game, 2 children slam their Zords into each other, and whoever breaks first loses. So
wait, so we're streaming that, right?
So that is the definition I am now going to go by.
And we're streaming that, yes?
Yep.
Like we're going to make these and on stream crash them into each other and see who holds up the best.
It can be the next.
That is the best. That is the best definition.
I'm going to get the new Lego Reinhardt and use that on you. So take that.
Yeah,
because that's the thing now. Did you see that? Reinhardt and Diva?
I saw the Diva. I didn't see the Reinhardt. But
it looks good.
that can be our new segment. What was our Lord of the Draft?
Yeah,
We did our AI. We can do that.
Draft. We need to do one of those again.
Lord
we
of
haven't
the
done one of
Zord.
those in a while. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but if it's ever a slow week, we'll just pre-build some Lego stuff and make sure that we do the show at somebody's house so we can live smash Legos into each other's.
I don't know if
See,
we'll ever have a slow week,
surprise.
though.
Haven't yet.
Even when we think it's gonna be, it's
That's
not.
actually kind of true.
The running joke throughout our little, because we have a little Facebook chat that we run through to keep updated with each other
And
throughout the
plan
week and stuff, and plan and all that stuff. And the running joke is this is going to be a short episode. This is going to be a slow week.
And then it runs 2 hours, 20 minutes.
Hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Hasn't happened yet.
Already almost 30 minutes into the show, and haven't actually talked Heroes yet. It's great.
Yeah,
It's all heroes.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's all heroes.
So one of the things that we are doing here in celebration, of course, are the giveaways throughout the show. But we know not everyone can make it to the live shows and stuff. So if you are listening, we're also going to be doing some of those giveaways through email, Discord, Twitter. You can just, if you want to email us, you can shoot us an email on, a favorite Heroes of the Storm or show memory, what you would like to see us do in the future. Really kind of just anything that has to do with Heroes of the Storm or the show. We're doing stuff in our Discord contest channel that's going on right now. But yeah, just look for those or shoot us an email and you can be entered to win. I believe we have some Mal'Ganis. Word. Why can't I think bundle? There we go. Mal'Ganis bundles. Where's the cue card?
Right there.
It's my cue card guy is slacking. He lost the cue card. Mal'Ganis bundles, Orphea bundles, and some toy chest bundles, I think. Are those the three we have? Yes.
Seem to think so.
Yep.
Okay.
Mal'Ganis, and all of them come with the skins. So the Orphea bundles come with one of the gem-only skins. The Mal'Ganis bundles come with one of the gem-only skins. And the toy chest codes give you 5 rare holiday toy chests.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's a drawing for that in chat right now. How about
Look
that?
at that.
Woo. And again, thank you to Blizzard for all those giveaways. It's awesome that we're, through them, able to do that for our community.
Yep.
Yeah.
Speaking of the holiday event, you guys, it's been going on a while. It's been a
Good
great
segment.
event. It's been a great event.
You know, I was thinking about that too, though. Like, obviously, it's been extended into this month, but I think the theming of it worked perfectly there because, I mean, it's always been a holiday, Christmas kind of theme with the toys and everything, but it's not super overtly Christmas. I mean, I guess they like re-released some of the, like the mint sugar plum Sylvanas tint and that kind of thing, but otherwise, it's just celebrating toys. So like, I think it's been fine. I don't feel like having it in throughout all of January has somehow made me think that Christmas has been drug on or something weird like that.
No, yeah, I think it's been great, especially lately because we're just been getting a lot of snow and ice in Kansas City. So, still definitely feels like winter.
Certainly does.
But there is less than 2 weeks left on the event, so get as many of those chests that you can while you can, because they're going to be going away, and there's a lot of cool stuff there. I still
Get the unicorn mount.
That's what I desperately need. I still don't have it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Plushy unicorn is if there's one thing that you could get,
That is the one.
plushy unicorn.
I
It's
got
amazing.
I got
So good.
one with shards. I'm still trying to get one out of the chest, but I'll probably buy at least
I'd like
one
the
more.
zombie one too.
Yeah,
If
I
I
think
get
that's-
enough shards.
I would choose either the just regular purplish pink one or the pink one. I don't know why.
yeah.
Don't judge me. Yeah.
Hey, it's you got to go with the OG. If you're just gonna get a plush unicorn, you just need the plush unicorn. And
That's
then
true.
The zombie
fantastic.
unicorn's
The bonus.
yeah, it's just a bonus there.
Yeah, for sure.
So keep doing those laps, keep doing those quests, and don't forget to get new quests whenever you complete a quest. like I've done several times. So,
Yep, got to remember to roll.
yes.
Roll.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, today, a balance patch hit. And we did not have one last week, so we were kind of expecting one this week. And boy, is it a balance patch. There's a lot of stuff going on here.
What's super funny about it is they released it. I popped it open. I wasn't expecting like a ton. I was expecting some Imperious stuff and potentially
a smattering of stuff.
Yeah, XP lane changes thing, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But the I opened it and I was just like, whoa, this is their it's okay guys, we're still alive balance patch. Because dang, 31 heroes were touched.
Yeah.
In one way or another in this balance patch. And for one of the first time ever, the Chen graphic on top of the balance patch is actually applicable. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. There are Chen changes.
You know,
changes?
Changes. I like that.
Changes.
Yeah.
I like that. I never really noticed that it was always Chen on the balance patches.
Really?
Yeah. I guess. I mean, but he's finally here.
He is the most balanced and harmonious character, probably. I mean, can't he even like balance on his tiptoe, one toe?
Doesn't he just do that in Battle for Azeroth? Isn't that like all he's doing?
Is that his thing?
Actually, I guess he's not the leader of the Pandaren, isn't it? Isn't it one of the leader of the Pandaren on the Alliance side, or?
He probably did it in the Mist cinematic or something.
I believe he did in the Mist cinematic. Yeah, I'd have to go back and look.
I'm pretty sure somewhere in World of Warcraft on one of the ships there's a panda just balancing on top of the mast, and that's like all he does.
Speaking of WoW cinematics, though, so we talked about how much ice and snow there is in Kansas City. If you want to know what Kansas City looks like right now, just watch the Wrath of the Lich King cinematic over and over again.
Yeah,
you will get it.
Oh, it's
undead army and dragon and all.
Yeah, the dragon flies over all our heads, and we just all look up and just turn blue and scream at it. It's pretty great.
So,
gosh, dang it.
This patch is interesting. We were discussing on kind of how we want to go through it because there is so much. And in all honesty, most of these changes are buffs to unpicked talents on heroes, trying to bring other talents up.
Most of the changes are just buffs in general. There's not a lot of nerfs in this patch. But yeah, you're right. This is the buff the underpicked talents patch.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
It's in the name of talent diversity, I'm sure. And I mean, I haven't really obviously taken the time to go through any of these heroes and think through, okay, now what would this make me change my mind on the level 7 tier necessarily? Because this just recently came out and everything. But yeah, it's interesting to me that there are just so many, though.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, though. Like, before the show, I haven't had time to go through all of them and compare, but I was doing the same thing with at least the characters I play, seeing if it's like, maybe I'll try this talent out now. And in most cases, I am not sure that is the case. But, if you buff everyone, is it really a buff? Or is it just, so...
Or did you nerf all the people that didn't get buffed?
Yeah,
that's
true.
Maybe we should be talking about them.
Deep. Let's talk about the other 60-some heroes or 50-some heroes that we didn't talk that we don't see here.
Arthas nerfed because he didn't get buffed here. Okay,
it's true.
Super out of the meta now.
So we're gonna kind of go through and tell you who's in here, and if it was kind of an overall buff or nerf. We'll have the patch notes in the show notes. They're also on the launcher if you guys want to get into the nitty-gritty. Otherwise, this would be a very long show with a lot of numbers that we may not know.
Most people probably won't care about.
Is. Yeah, exactly. So
we let Math of the Storm do that for us.
Exactly.
Oh boy, I don't envy you, Chaos.
Oh yeah, seriously.
This is quite the deal.
Yeah, you had a few weeks off, so we got in the Assassins, Gul'dan, some buffs to unpicked talents. Illidan, some buffs not necessarily to unpick talents. Metamorphosis got one.
A little
Jaina.
health buff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering,
I'll take it.
because it's really interesting with health numbers, because health numbers are always really tricky because of how things scale. Because it says, metamorphosis bonus health increase from 200 to 220. Big whoop, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's just the base number. It scales, right? And so it's just like one of those, I wonder if metamorphosis is going to be a real tank thing later on in the game. Like, is that going to is that going to make metamorphosis amazing?
And he has so much self-sustain too that as his health goes up, whatever percent healing he's doing himself also goes up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you good point. I did see that one and think, oh, why is TBK even talking about this right now?
Yeah.
But that's a solid point.
It's just
they
one
have
of
a
those
bigger impact
things.
than we think.
Yeah, sometimes a lot of these might be small changes, but sometimes small changes can be much bigger than they appear because of the way scaling works.
Yep. And sometimes small changes, and here's the Storm patch notes, can literally be 1 digit.
They've done that.
Zarya.
Zarya has one this time? Oh,
No. Not.
Morales does have one.
Yes.
Okay.
A 1 second change.
Also, like a Nubarak getting 2 or 3 health. Added.
Oh, the Anubarak meme was hilarious forever. He would just go up and down 200 health every patch, and that would be it.
Yeah, it was super funny. I don't think Blaze's bunker has gotten its health changed enough though.
Yeah.
For what meme it's supposed to be, they've only done it once or twice.
It's true.
Shameful, Blizzard. Come on.
All right, Jaina here. I'm gonna call this one just a change. I don't know the numbers on if this is gonna be a buff or not. Her Frostbolt and Cone of Cold did get damage nerfs, but then she got a buff to some level 7 talents, and actually Northern Exposure got a nerf from armor reduction from 25 to 20, which
Jaina's
is a big talent.
overall a nerf.
This one's got to be a nerf, yeah.
She was pretty dominant right now from a mage standpoint. So that's not super surprising to see her hit a little bit.
Every time we talk about Jaina, it reminds me that I want to go on and practice Jaina, but I'm real bad at Jaina. But hey, the Sylvanas build we're going to cover is kind of like Jaina, so maybe I don't. Maybe I just need to play more Sylvanas.
That's the answer.
Junkrat got some buffs here mainly to Rocket Ride, and also going with his level 20 Puckish Scamp. They adjusted the cooldown so that talent isn't just nonsense on the cooldown reduction now. Should equal about to the same. Kerrigan, some buffs to a couple talents. Li Ming, buffs to a couple talents. Maiev, actually, this is one of the ones where I actually played a game right before the show, and I wanted to play Maiev because of this, to see what it felt like, but I ended up playing Sylvanas. The one I'm intrigued on here is level 4 Pin Down. The first reward damage bonus increased from 15 to 25%. That's a pretty big percentage.
Yeah, that's a pretty big one.
And I'm sure most people remember when Maiev came out and her damage was a little nuts, so I'm intrigued to see what that'll do. But
what else is on 4, though? Do you remember? Do you play her enough to be able to say?
I haven't played her in quite some time. I played her a lot when she came out. But, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Looks good. Mephisto got some mana buffs or mana reductions on some abilities, as well as cooldown stuff.
That's actually pretty dang key.
It is.
If you think about it. 5 mana here and there may not sound like a lot, but that adds up real quick to
change how
to extra abilities, being able to get extra abilities off before you run dry. And they're still trying to get Durance of Hate to work.
Oh, yeah.
It's down to a 50-second cooldown now.
I've been seeing Durance of Hate.
Really?
Wait. Durance of Hate. That's
the one where you throw out the ghosties and loot someone and then they do stuff.
I haven't.
Still trying to get it to work.
Seen that one.
I saw it once. I saw it the game that I tested it so that I could talk about it for this show. and then I never took it again.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Eventually, they're going to be like, guys, it's a 20-second cooldown now. Please pick it. Guys, it's 10 seconds.
It's
You
a
can
basic
use it
ability.
basically. Yeah, it's a basic ability.
10
guys.
seconds,
Come on.
no mana cost. In fact, it gives you mana back.
Just hit the
And
button.
everyone's still just like, but I can damage everyone and get
And see
visibility.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah, so.
That is one of those. It kind of reminds me of old school possession on Sylvanas. Like, I think you'd have to just rework it. I really do. So, anyway.
Oh, man, I had forgotten that possession was an ultimate for Sylvanas.
Yep.
Wow.
Now it's a talent.
Wow, yeah.
I know.
And it's not even a very good talent,
Yeah.
like, comparatively.
Nova got some buffs to some talents, as well as Ragnaros, buff to a talent, Shifting Meteor. Some damage stuff there. Zeratul got a nerf to Void Slash at 16 and Shadow Mending at 20.
And that's not surprising, especially the Void Slash.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of Zeratul lately. He's one of those heroes that's just when you see one, he's either real good or real bad. And there's been a lot of really good ones lately. So
Yeah, the ones who can just really land the Void Prison really well can just rock you.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Multi, if you want to run through some of the specialists here.
Sure.
Let's just talk about the fact that there's specialists.
Yeah.
For now.
That they're
Like,
still
when's the
listed as
last
specialists.
time that we saw like Gazlo and Murky and Vikings patch notes?
Have you ever played the
Been a
Lost
while.
Vikings yet, TBK?
I got them to 5.
You did?
Yes.
Okay.
I have every hero at least to 5.
And you haven't touched them
And-
since?
No, not at all.
Well, what about now?
I sucked it up. And I got them to 5.
We need that gold.
They're still my highest win rate hero.
But on
With
a
a
small
decent
sample size.
No, with a decent amount of games.
Oh,
I just
okay.
haven't played them since they changed them
You played
a
them
long
a
time
lot.
ago. Yeah, I used to play them a
you
lot.
used to play them a lot.
So your samples
I
all
remember
from
that.
a patch in which they were a little bit stronger.
Yeah, it was back whenever they were a big macro thing. But yeah, but what's going on with Gazlo?
So yeah, first of all, these are still categorized as specialists for now. I was actually kind of thinking about that today. We were gonna cover Sylvanas coming up here, and she's an example of a specialist that's gone to a rework. I see them doing that again with a lot of these, kind of tuning up some damage and that kind of thing. But these patch notes don't seem like they're starting to move specialists in this direction, at least just yet. Maybe it's setting the stage for something like that. But like Gazlo, for instance, Gravel Bomb has just a little bit of cooldown and mana cost reduction. Fairly significant cooldown reduction. 110 to 90 could be significant. I always liked it better anyway, so whatever. And then a level 20 change there. Actually, cooldown reduction from It's Raining Scrap, 60 to 30 seconds now. But Vikings, so yeah, Gizmo, you're the Vikings guy of the three of us here for sure, because I'm also in the camp of getting them to 5 and leaving them there. What are anything really to talk about on these? It's 3 talent changes.
Yeah.
Seems to be a buff for sure, but
Yeah,
how's
they're
it gonna change you?
it's buffs to the talents, but again, like this is I haven't played them since they made these changes to that, because they completely changed like how their abilities and stuff worked. But they seem pretty good overall. It's a sabotage, I believe, is what's not Eric, not Olaf. What's the third one's name? Eric, Olaf, and
You're talking about the middle one that just carries
the blonde one throws things. Anybody know why?
Why am I
terrible with them.
blanking right now?
Chat knows this for
Eric,
sure.
Terrible.
Olaf and oh no!
This
I feel
feels like
I feel bad for
feel
him.
like we can Google this one. Anyway,
But yeah, it's a Baylog.
I love that we're all
Baylog.
Baylog. I love that we all blank at the same time.
Yeah,
thank you.
I mean-
Thank you, Ponky Wonky, and also thank you that your name is Ponky Wonky.
I love
it.
It's normal for me to blank on things, but for you guys for it to happen at the same time, weird.
I'm
It's
not a Viking guy. I didn't play it back in the day.
It's a damage increase to his like structure pushing ability, pretty much. The Norse Force shield, activatable shield talent for all three of them got buffs, and then the Nordic Attack Squad is like their giant killer. Let's all hop on the same target and melt them down, tank stuff. So who knows? Maybe I'll check them out for the first time since their changes. But I also don't want to tarnish that percentage. I want to say it's like 75 or 78%, something like that. And I think I got them to level 9 before Heroes 2.0 came out. I almost got the Master Skin, but then they changed them, so we'll see. What about Murky and Zagara here, Multi?
Not too much happening with either, although kind of funny. Murky has a cast time on his spawn egg, the trait, reduced from 2 to 1.5 seconds. So I don't know what they were fixing with that necessarily, because if someone watches you do it, you're still probably dead, right? Because like they've got you there in the egg.
Barf the egg out a little faster.
Yeah, just a little faster.
The level 4 change for me, for my Murky build, is massive. Because this is Living the Dream got its max stacks increased from 15 to 20%. And I do Living the Dream build on Murky. And I'm actually super pumped.
I'm not.
For that.
I don't want to see Murky's rise up again.
You will anyway. People are definitely going to try it for sure.
Yep. Love me some Murky.
Lastly, Zagara. Again, this one's changing up the functionality to Bile Drop at 7. This is actually kind of interesting because it's a new quest talent. Basically now increase the impact radius of infested drop by 20%, which seems all right. And then the quest is after hitting 15 enemy heroes with infested drop, an additional roach is spawned. So I don't know. I mean, this would take some testing to see if it's any good. I mean, it seems kind of iffy to me, but I mean, maybe it would be good. I could see like if you're in one of those maps where you're in a 1-4 and you're stuck on the 4, then you could get this off on a lot of people. But at the same time, like, I don't know, you're Zagara, shouldn't you be the one in that scenario? So I don't know. Seems interesting.
With the 20% increased radius, I haven't looked at it in game now, but that's pretty big. So I think you probably
big to begin with, though, right?
No, but
it's not huge baseline.
But I'm not. I don't know. I'd have to see what it's like. Because if it is something that's fairly easy to complete in a solo lane, obviously it would depend on what character you're going against, if they have a lot of mobility or not. But this could be super annoying because all of the additional minions that she spawns are really hard to deal with. Speaking from experience, because whenever I play Braxis Holdout, I'm normally in the solo lane, and a lot of times I'm going against Zagara. Maybe I should just play her instead. But yeah, the roaches and it's all really annoying. So additional one would not be fun to go against.
Would it make that much of a difference, though? I wonder. I don't know. We'd have to see.
That's usually the thing. Is it's like, man, I am having so much problems. I'm running into this hero so many times. They beat me every time. Wait, should I just play that hero?
Yeah.
This has been the case in games from all across time.
Swifter's actually saying, so they did change this talent, and before it was impact damage increase, and they are not stoked on this change. So
because they removed the impact increase and gave it this quest that then spawns a roach.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
and then he's saying the other talents on that tier are also a little meh. So yeah, it's interesting.
Who knows? Maybe you'll end up liking it. Maybe. Just keep an open mind on it, I guess. I don't know.
Well, it's one of those things that these days it's really hard to play a wide variety of heroes.
It is because so many.
It's the same problem that all MOBAs get into. Is it used to be, especially back in Tech Alpha, I played everybody almost equally, and just because you could, there just wasn't that many. And so nowadays, let's be honest, unless you're playing the game a massive amount, you're not going to be playing all the heroes near equally. In fact, you've probably settled on your pool of 20 or 30 maybe that you play, and that you probably don't touch the other ones that much.
Yeah, and some of the ones I don't touch, I'm kind of worried too. Like I get in there and I'm like, I'm not gonna know any of my timings or limits or anything like that on this guy. So I hear you.
I've found a lot of the heroes that are out of my rotation now are actually some of my highest level heroes, just because I played those a ton when there were less heroes at the time. And at this point, like my main rotation now is not near as high of levels. Just because my rotation changes more. But when I do go back to those ones, it usually only takes like a game or two, unless there was a big rework. And then, you kind of get a feel for it again, and you're good to go. But, yeah, it's getting to an interesting point. TBK, I'm going to let you tackle the supports and tanks, as those are kind of your shindigs.
My wheelhouse. Alex Straza, just slight buffs. The biggest one, though, being... her W, actually, her baseline W abundance ability actually got a cooldown reduction from 16 to 14 seconds. And that's a big deal. That is a huge one.
Oh, yeah.
Because 16 seconds is a super long time for a basic ability.
Yeah.
Like, it really is. And so having that be 2 seconds shorter on a healing ability.
Especially when it's already a real strong support.
Yeah.
So that's kind of long too, but like now it's getting more of an Uther feel than, too super long.
Yeah, that's going to be really big for the W build. If you go that. Deckard, you remember how he's nerfed a few patches back? Well, I guess they decided they didn't like that because they increased his healing potions. They reduced their quest requirement for his Scroll of Identity on level 1. They buffed the super healing potion at 13 from 100 to 120% now. And the potion of revival at that same tier from 45 to 50. So try Deckard, I guess. He heals a lot more now.
These make sense because his win rate did take quite a hit whenever they made those nerfs to him.
Oh, yeah.
And
did.
This is, quite a buff.
Yeah, give him all the healing back. Karazim got 1 buff, but his Divine Palm now, when it procs, heals for a decent bit more when it actually procs. So that's pretty cool. Lily got a slight nerf / buff. Her Cloud Serpent actually went from 10 to 11 seconds. And again, there's 1 second differences that don't sound like super crazy on paper, but in game you can actually feel them sometimes. Morales, as I was mentioning, her Safeguard cooldown was increased from 10 seconds to 11 seconds.
And there's one I kind of would argue that you probably can't feel as much as a Morales player because like you're typically saving those for moments in which you're getting value out of it anyway. So like, I mean, I wasn't popping them off on cooldown every 10 seconds usually, right? So it's kind of weird that there's a slight change, but whatever.
Morales doesn't feel like she's in an amazing spot anyways.
Now. That too.
No,
she's still fun to play. I still stand by I enjoy the energy change.
Yeah, you can definitely, at least in me personally, those 1 second changes, I notice more than I would think, because while you're not using those abilities usually on cooldown, for say a Morales, there are going to be times where you are waiting for that thing to come off cooldown, and it's like somebody's gonna die at 1 second, and it's like, oh man, there it is. So
fair point. Mm-hmm.
Yep, definitely true. Malfurion got some buffs to Strangling Vines and Deep Roots on level 4, and a slight nerf to the Treant damage from Vengeful Roots at level 4. A Nubarak nerf. Yeah, broccoli nerf. How dare they? Come on, guys. A Nubarak actually is one of the few that's, for the most part, a straight nerf. They reduced his basic attack damage, and they reduced his impale damage, just baseline. Level 1, they actually Legion of Beetles, which is his trait. They moved from level 4. Additional functionality now increases the spell armor of beetles by 40, and they removed resilient scarabs. as a talent. And so there's actually developer comments on this one, and they said Enumerak's Beetle build has been a difficult sell, particularly at level 1, due to the power discrepancy of Resilient Scarabs compared to the other talents on the tier. And in order to help the build, we've reducing the opportunity cost of picking the talent by removing Resilient Scarabs and baking it into the functionality into Legion of Beetles. Do you guys remember when Beetle build was the build?
Oh yeah.
For
sure.
Nubarak,
Right out
like
the gate for him, yeah.
Yeah, like right out the gate, when he was released, Beetle build was insanely strong.
Mm-hmm.
Insanely strong. It kind of overshadowed everything else, and that kind of fell by the wayside through various nerfs and stuff.
Yeah, I think what happened was the Beatles just started doing a bunch of drugs, and then eventually there was like Yoko Ono and stuff that got in there, and it got really weird between like John and Paul, and just I've gone too far with this Beatles joke. I'm sorry. Anyway, go on.
Oh,
what were you talking about?
I was just.
Did it take you that long?
Yeah.
You were just sitting there, Gizmo. That's good.
Yeah.
Well played.
My brain was just like, where did you go to? Oh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most.
And speaking, it does mention tiny little friends, so
Yeah.
I know all the Beatles were friends. But Enumerak was a bit too strong overall right now, so reducing his damage so that he's not quite so dominant compared to the other tanks.
I think most surprising on these Enumerak changes is his health was not changed. There are no health notes for him.
Yeah. No health or health scaling.
It's a bit surprising.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Artanis, his Phase Prism, his basic E ability, actually got its cooldown reduced from 14 to 12 seconds and the mana cost reduced from 60 to 50. Big change there. More swaps. I like that.
That's his thing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then a few minor talent buffs. Blaze, his Juggernaut plating at 16. The cooldown got reduced from 40 to 30 seconds. That's just about it. Chen. How long has it been since Chen has showed up?
Don't know, but I'm about to start playing him a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Based on this?
I love playing Chen. I love playing
fun.
Chen, and I feel like
he's super fun.
In like plat level play, I feel like you can still do some stuff with him, and with the basic attack damage increase, and then the flying kick damage increase, like I'm ready to jump on some fools.
Yeah,
they do say there is a developer comment on this one where they're talking about pushing Chen toward more of a bruiser role.
Mm-hmm.
And we can go into that a little bit more specific, but maybe this is kind of what I was talking about earlier, that some of these are maybe intended to start nudging certain heroes into newer like role archetypes under the new format. And maybe, if he's a full-on bruiser down the road, we could see more of this kind of stuff and get some damage back on that guy.
Chin used to be a monster.
Oh,
God.
Used to be stupid.
He was the first one. So this is again
so stupid.
Going back to the beginning, but he was the first one I switched to off of Arthas as like a main because he could do everything Arthas could do, but then also just like wreck you.
Yeah, and
that was also back when there were far fewer CC abilities in the game.
Yeah,
That's really what destroyed him over time was the abundance of things that could interrupt his shielding and thereby interrupt his energy regeneration.
Well, in those days, you had the flying kick talent that made you like root your opponent.
Oh my gosh, 100% root.
Yeah, you got a huge basic attack buff right after that, and you can just like
you chunk people down. Yeah,
it's great.
Absolutely insane.
Back in like Barrel Boy days.
Barrel Boy,
right.
McIntyre and the Barrel Boys.
Yeah, like you said, basic attack damage increase, flying kick damage increase. His Fortifying Brew, the shield amount was reduced from 106 to 98, which is a decent nerf to his self-sustain while he's getting his brew back. And then he's had some talents tweaked as well. But they also did say we're beginning to experiment with smoothing out the fact that he's either amazing if the enemy team has no CC or terrible if the enemy team does have CC. So they're increasing his sustained survivability but reducing the amount of burst he can tackle while also increasing his damage. While we are still iterating on him, we wanted to get some preliminary changes out sooner rather than hold back until we were finished. So What that tells me is there is at least a moderate Chen rework in the works.
Which I'm totally fine with. I hope this is a moderate rework. I think he has a great
Chen needs
kit.
some love.
But like his kit's really fun. It's really unique. But he could definitely use something. Whether that's through
keep the kit and make him a bruiser, get him in there,
through scaling and talent
I think Chen
changes,
will make a great bruiser
for sure.
Yeah, Garrosh getting some buffs. Interestingly, especially level 13 Blood Craze from his W, where healing was increased from 10% to 15% max health. I don't know why Garrosh needs more sustain, but there it is. If you want it, it's great. Imperious. Now, we knew Imperious would have some changes. His win rate has been a little low.
45, 46, something like that?
Yeah. The developer comment is, judging from the data gained from more experienced Imperious players, our newest hero will trend right into the sweet spot with his overall balance. We do want to make some tuning adjustments to a few talents to make sure they're attractive choices, however, which is what the majority of these balance changes aim to address. So it is basically just a lot of tweaks to several talents and increasing the cooldown of angelic armaments from 60 to 70 seconds. Because that's a pretty good ultimate.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. And as much as I love the other one, I just have not found myself using it. Because the extra shielding is just so nice. And the other talent, if you compare it, Gorge is point and click. Yes, you have to be next to the person, but with Imperious, the range on his second heroic is so short. It's a really short range in a lot of ways. And so I think that just makes it a little harder to use. And that big of a shield and then a large amount of damage after the shield is done, if you keep it, is very tempting.
You really can't ever go wrong with it. Yeah,
exactly. Johanna got some Falling Sword love, extra damage, cooldown reduction from 60 to 50 seconds now, and a large mana cost reduction, as well as a few buffs in some of her 1, 4, and 7 talents. Rework got some talent buffs as well. Small Rexar talent buff 13 with the aspect of the Hawk attack, the attack speed bonus duration, get an extra second out of it. Gorge got a cooldown reduction from 70 to 65 seconds. And Savor the Flavor, which I love as a talent, got a little buff at 1 as well as 7 and 13 talents. Yeah.
I'm
per stack.
Of all the things in these patch notes, these Stitches ones, I'm a little confused about. Because Stitches is pretty strong right now. And these are all pretty solid buffs.
Well, his big level 1 is the permanent healing increase. And so it's really hard, unless you nerf that more, it's really hard to make the others competitive. So I really like the Savor the Flavor because I really like the E-build, because I used to take that talent a lot back when it was a level 7 talent. So I like that. And it's basically just an E-build buff.
Yeah. Because everything else would scale off it somehow too. Yeah. I want to do one more quick shout out. Did you mention the Valorous Pursuit change on Imperious 2? That seems significant to me. Level 20, the fun one where you get to, latch on to somebody and then jump to them with Valorous Pursuit.
Yep.
It's cool. Cooldown reduced 15 to 12 seconds, and then it also gives 25 armor for 3 seconds.
That's awesome.
So, pretty cool.
Still wish...
It's a big buff.
Yeah, I still wish there was something... I don't know if it should be built into the queue or whatnot, but I don't know. I wish there was something done to the queue, but there wasn't.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We'll see.
Yeah. But again, a lot of stuff in here. A lot of stuff. Again, most to off talents to try and bring some other stuff up, but it's definitely a patch that's worth going through and just kind of comparing, and maybe your interest will get piqued and you'll try somebody else out and pick up a new hero. It's always a good thing, right? Yeah.
Definitely gonna be trying out a few of these.
I'm real excited to get back on Chen.
Get some beetle build going. Yeah, Chen. Try some Chen out. Play more Stitches, because Stitches.
That's your whole reason.
Yeah, I'll be playing more Stitches now as well, because he's my go-to tank if that's the role I have to fill. So, let's see. TBK, you had posted a tweet here earlier.
I did.
Concerning the big gameplay experience changes and stuff that we had for this year. And so I'll kind of let you go through what your thoughts are here.
It's interesting. So we're over a month out now from the XP changes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been a lot of feedback. There was a lot of opinions when it first went onto the PTR, and then Blizzard changed it up rather dramatically in some ways when it went to live.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't go to live in the format that they brought it to PTR. So we've had a little while now sitting on these, and I was just kind of trying to gauge interest, because in some ways I expected this balance patch to potentially have some tweaks to the XP changes. It didn't come. I still am kind of waiting to see if there's going to be some like developer blog on like retrospective, like what kind of data are they seeing? Because right now, just anecdotal data for me, and it seems like for several other people, some of whom have chimed in a lot, games have been running longer. You don't feel like you're ahead, even if you're dominating. Catapults are, a lot of people don't like the catapults. The fort catapult
way that
spawns,
they push, yeah,
and the way that they push. Like Tim from Heroes of Fitness, great kind of thoughts, kind of my same thoughts. Doesn't like fort catapults, hampered the ability to get out on the map, prefer out of vision and make plays between objectives. When you have a PvE day job, to do it decreases your threat or punishes you for ignoring lanes. When you get kills, you have less options because of catapults pushing. Totally agree with this, especially when it's early on. And I think one of my biggest takeaways from this, in a lot of ways, is I'm just not a huge fan that such a massive amount of XP that we get now is just streamed in passively,
right,
and not visible to the player, or not worked for or earned,
even by soaking. Yeah.
What do you guys? I definitely have felt that my games have gone longer. No question.
The games I think are a little longer on average for me, but it's not as noticeable now because they have, like, when these gameplay changes first came out, games got quite a bit longer. And now it's gone down. It seems to have gone back quite a bit as people have gotten used to the changes, but they're still not as fast as they were previously. But I don't mind the length. Catapults is a noticeable thing, and yeah, it's not fun to have have catapult duty and stuff. But that one doesn't bother me a ton. The passive experience is the thing that I think is the hardest to tackle, because it is hard. Like, if you get the lead by taking down a fort or two, not only are you then getting those catapults, you're getting the passive experience. It then becomes harder for the team that's behind to come together to take down forts to even that back out, because they are having to tend to those catapults. So I don't know what the answer to that is. I do like the thought behind the reward and adding it on now that you've taken away experience from those structures. But I don't know if there'd be a way to do it like, okay, now you get, say you take down a fort, I don't know, maybe you get bonus experience if you are soaking that lane. That way you can still get an experience lead, but you are having to be in that lane as well. to break up the roaming if you get a lead and want to roam a little bit because of the passive experience. I don't know what the answer is.
Well,
but
here's the question. Would you want to go back to the old model?
For me personally, maybe, honestly. I don't feel it as much on like a game-to-game basis, except for like with regard to game length for sure. But I don't know, this just brought in so many weird elements to how you change up the way that you lane and like react to catapults pushing in lanes. And I mean, it opened up that whole discussion we had about how sometimes a lane may be overpushed, and thus it's kind of a safer lane for your opposing losing team to farm. And there's just enough weirdness in it that I think it at least isn't in a great spot right now. And to me, the most important thing is that I'm glad that this conversation is still going, still pushing in a direction, just in general, because we don't want something like this to just like we accept the new norm and say, okay, well, this is how it is. We'll make our strategies around it. Like I love that people are on Twitter, getting in threads like this, having discussions, trying to find out if there's just a better way of going about this.
It feels to me this is from a non-pro angle, of course. Like right now, it feels to me that I want to go and kill the enemy forts as quickly as possible while defending my forts as hard as possible, so that I can get the catapults spawning as quickly as I can to make them have catapult babysitting duty.
Right.
And I don't think that's fun gameplay.
Yeah.
That's my thing right now. That's the, like I said, this is not a pro thing. This is like, 80%, 90% of games where people aren't like freezing lanes and stuff like that. But to me, from what I've been playing in Team League and Quick Match, when you quickly get those forts down and you get those catapults going, that forces people to do babysitting, and that forces things like, oh my gosh, like Murky or some of the specialists that can still actually push really well can do so much dumb stuff with catapults.
Oh yeah, like truly push really deep.
Like truly push really deep. I had a Murky in a Team League game the other night, and we were winning the team fights, but we could not keep him under control. And because the catapults were helping push the lane so much that he could go in and just basically add on to that, get big waves going. And so you were on Murky babysitting duty and catapult babysitting duty. And I don't know, like I said, it's not a fun way to play.
Thank goodness they did that Sylvanas rework, eh? Because she would be brutal with
good
this.
Lord.
Yeah, I don't know if I disagree enough to say I'd rather it go back to how it was in 2018, but I would love to see them continue experimenting with this and come out with more changes, especially now that you don't have to. I mean, there's really no excuse when they don't have to worry about affecting. The pro scene. True. Bring in some more changes. Even if it's just little changes every other week or so. Mess with it.
For
work
a season,
experiment with it. Yeah. And you don't even really. I mean, you could still do PTR, but you don't really necessarily have to do that. Like, you could introduce some of the stuff into balance changes.
Honestly, I think I'm at the point where I would be fine if they reverted it. And I think I would be happy, because I think as of right now, I enjoy the game more on the old method than the new method. But at the same time, I'd be open to them experimenting with ways of trying to accomplish their goal and iterating on this. But I am not happy with where it's currently at, I think, is probably where I land right now.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But yeah, I agree with you, Multi. It's good that these discussions are still happening. So we'll see if See if the community's heard and see if some sort of change happens or if we get a response from it. Who knows?
I'm hoping we get, at the very least, I'm hoping that they do a, hey guys, update. This is the data we're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
like a
these are
KO
the
post
metrics
or
we're
something.
trying. Yeah, and these are the metrics we were trying to hit, and we hit these, or we didn't hit these, or this has not worked out near as well as we were hoping, or that type of thing.
Yeah,
I kind of want to see that from the team.
Even just
and I don't want
Reddit
it just
response to something. Yeah.
I don't want to see this just like that's just how it is, and
what
life goes on.
What do you think about this bad idea? What,
Already think it's bad.
Yeah. What if they introduced a time limit before catapults could come out? What that time frame would be, I don't know. But
but then you get nothing for getting a fort. That's the
you still get the passive experience.
True.
But is that enough then?
Well, yeah. If they
There's some
scaled
games
up
where
this
it-
passive experience to
rough.
compensate, then passive experience could get really out of control in terms of its importance versus
Well,
soaking.
Yeah,
Well,
you wouldn't
here's-
necessarily need to buff the passive experience for it.
But
It
to
would-
compensate for a lack of or delay of the catapult, I think you would almost have to. I don't know.
But
I don't
the-
know.
Oh, and here's a comment to my thread from Nick C, which I agree with too. He said, I don't think catapults are that bad if you have wave clear, but the game feels horrible to play. If you're down a talent tier before objective, you can't go rush a fort for quick XP. All you can do is soak. Games go longer, and half the time, and this is the big one, early mid game doesn't matter. Because the passive experience is keeping the other team so close that late game, and this may feel good in some ways to the losing team or the team that's behind, because they feel like they can constantly engage the other team on a normal level. It doesn't always work out like that, but I mean it's enough that this person says I've actually stopped playing because of the XP changes, not the announcement. The game isn't fun anymore, and playing feels less rewarding. And that's something you have to consider too. Is there's a reason a lot of games don't do this kind of thing, is because, and this was a video Rich even posted about this, is that he, after the changes, he felt demoralized because he didn't feel like the stuff he was doing was having an impact or really getting them ahead. Even if it technically it was, it didn't feel like it, because the enemy team is still on the level or only a level, maybe 2 down.
Yeah.
And I've destroyed all their forts and one of their keeps. And it's just like, why am I not winning more when I should be? And that's an angle you have to consider too, because it's not just the losing team going, oh, I'm feeling demoralized because I don't feel like there's any way we can win. It's the winning team going, this is not satisfying because we're playing really well and it doesn't look like we are.
That comes down to like the philosophy of the game design of Heroes over other MOBAs. I mean, we feel a little of this just with the shared EXP and the fact that like in this one it's hard to have one person carry really hard, as you can see in League and some others where you build up your gold intake and buy a bunch of stuff in the store. So, it's this kind of stuff can impact how people think about just how this game plays. That's what I'm getting at there.
Yeah. So this is the interesting thing with these changes here, I think. So before, when we're discussing the catapults and stuff, we're talking about how that doesn't feel, it's not a fun thing to play against and it's hard to deal with. Yet at the same time, now we're talking about when you're the winning team still, it doesn't really feel like you're winning. And there are those times, because we talked about it before, to where you have been winning the whole game, but then it doesn't really matter. Late game, they're still close enough. They get a wipe and they win the game. In Royal
Because you
Aid,
can push really fast.
Yeah.
Late, like post 19, 20, 21 minutes. Like if you get a team wipe, you can, and you've got a fort down, you can push through a keep and get the core.
Yeah. Well, in Royal Aid, chat brought up a point. They said, has anybody noticed more games that go to extremes in general, like less than 13 minutes or more than 25? And I actually do think I noticed that, because it is either if you are what would have been playing a game where you would have snowballed early, the stuff with the catapults you're taking more advantage of, and the games are going really fast. Because I have had games where we either just steamroll or they steamroll us. But if that doesn't happen, then it stretches out that mid game and makes the game longer if you're not just wrecking the team, which isn't great. And that's a real hard thing to balance between once you already have this system out to change and affect that. So potentially maybe going back to the 2018 changes is the right call, and then tweaking from there if you need to. But it's the more I think about it now, the weirder the whole thing is.
Yeah, in some ways I would almost feel better if we went back and then they started making little tweaks,
right,
to see how it affected things. It's one of those things, and it's one of the things we don't see the data of the problems they're trying to fix. But at the same time, it's one of those, yes, there were definitely some stomps to be had. Were the stomps because I was matched with the wrong set of people? Potentially. Were the stomps because someone was having a bad night? Potentially. Were the stomps because forts gave too much and gave too big of a thing? Potentially. Maybe. Heck, let's go back to 2018 and let's just start by straight reducing the amount of XP forts give by half.
Right.
And then let's see how that goes.
Stuff like that. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. My only concern on this, though, is that, I mean, obviously Blizzard does have all of the data to play with, but they also have a history of looking at data in weird ways. So this happens in Hearthstone all the time, where, like, for instance, just recently we've had a big update to the arena where they've literally gone in and rebalanced all the classes to where they're as close to a 50% win rate as humanly possible by, like, either buffing some classes, offering rates, nerfing other ones, and that sort of thing. And it actually opens up a weird discussion because, like, and I listened to another podcast called The Light Forge, which is all about the arena, where they went over this, and their argument was, yes, okay, it's nice that you reached your goal, but the game just still doesn't feel good. And so I'm thinking there could be something similar happening here, and I'm worried about this continuing to happen, where it seems like they've been so focused on the negative experience that the losing side has, and not as much about the now kind of negative experience that the winning side can have when they feel like they should be more on top of it than they are, early, mid-game, late game, that sort of thing. So I don't know. My worry is that, like, they may have done what they did and think that they achieved their goal, and that's why I think that we need to keep this conversation going, is we kind of got to say, well, there's this whole other angle to it, and it still just doesn't feel great.
Yeah.
You know?
One more thing I wanted to address too, real fast, before we move on, because I don't want to, spend the whole show on this.
No, yeah, right.
But Big Nerd TV in chat says they look at data, numbers, and statistics. You guys have supposition. True, that's totally true. But the interesting thing about that is that data's numbers and statistics does not always equal fun. It does not always equal the game feeling good. And I've talked to multiple Heroes designers about this type of thing before, and they have said that they have made changes, Genji being a big one, to Heroes based on feel, even though the data did not back it up.
Yeah.
And just because this particular hero feels oppressive, does the data show they're oppressive? No. The data doesn't show that, but they nerf them anyways because it was a feel thing. And so I feel like that's partially, and I don't know, it just seems there's a lot of feel data going on right now that even if it is statistically more even and statistically more games are closer, that's not, I would argue that's not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. And I agree with that. the only other thing I'd have to say to counter that is the loudest voice is always going to be the people that have issues with something. And obviously, us doing a Heroes podcast, we follow a lot of Heroes people on Twitter and stuff like that, but we don't know. There's no way for us to know like percentage of people that are unhappy with changes versus people that are. If I had to guess from all the people we interact with, from the things we're seeing in chat, it would be a majority of people aren't happy with the changes, but we don't know.
It's a lot of conjecture, but at the same time, you want the game to feel good.
Yeah.
And right now, I am not having near as much fun playing Heroes post-update as I was playing Heroes with the 2018 rule set, I guess.
It's a fair point.
I'll say the same. Mm-hmm.
All right. So we'll see what we hear about that, if anything. Who knows? TBK, we got some more exciting stuff to talk about this week. I'm actually super stoked for this.
This is really cool.
Let's hop into
this is really cool.
Tournament talk. All right, so HeroesHearth again announced this latest activity, which they had alluded to in the past, but the details are here.
So we talked about the tournament that's coming from the partnership with them and Tempo Storm and several others that's going to be coming in February. But in addition to that, they just recently announced that they will be hosting a twice monthly HeroesHearth Fight Night. They've been working on this for a while, and the concept is this is a full-on grudge match between two titans clashing for bragging rights and a bounty. Expect this to be a little over the top, a little extreme, but mostly just freaking fun. This is not a fixed HGC solution, but rather a supplement that will add the HeroesHearth flavor to the post-HGC competitive scene. So basically what this is it's a best of 5. Winner stays, champ remains, and challengers must rise to dethrone the king of the hill. Viewers can cheer bits to go into the bounty to entice new challengers to take down the champ. The first broadcast of this show will be February 1st and will be cast by J-How and Haloran, which is really cool.
That's really cool, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So essentially, 50% of all bits that are donated by viewers during the broadcast will be put into the bounty. The bounty is either claimed by a victorious challenger, claimed by an exiting champ, or rolled over to the next week if the champ will stand their ground another week. The bounty will grow each week, rolling over to the next week if left unclaimed. To add extra spice each week during the post-game winner circle interview, the champ must declare if they're going to step aside and claim the bounty for themselves, resetting it, or stand and defend their title for another week, allowing the bounty to grow. The other 50% of contributed bits is split between both teams evenly at the end of each broadcast. Once the bounty is claimed, it's reset to 0, and the champ goes on cooldown for 3 weeks. So that they can't jump back in immediately the next week. Furthermore, the winning team will receive $200 and the loser will receive $100. This will generally be an invite-only situation. Look to see probably top teams from the Tempo Storm tournament, if that ends up turning into a league situation, potentially Division S, big teams for the Nexus Gaming Series, that type of thing. But if you'd like your team to be on HeroesHearth's radar, you can email Ryan at HeroesHearth.com, not me, other Ryan, with the team name, team captain, team members, and one quality meme. That is probably the most important part.
For sure.
They will be announcing the teams that will clash on February 1st on Monday. So
I am so excited.
Exciting stuff.
So
exciting stuff.
First, I have referred to this as Friday Night Fights several times on accident because I believe Friday Night Fights was a thing or something. This is just Fight Night. Happens to be on Friday. And so I can't get that through my head. But the whole idea behind this is really cool because it's like it's a addition, like an add-on to a league scene or tournament scene, but it's also set up in the way to kind of like a game show, I guess, where it's like winner gets to decide if they want to, continue going or keep the money, like minute to win it.
That's the coolest
or
part
deal
to
or
me.
no deal. It's really cool. In a
I
best
love the
of,
concept.
Yeah, a best of 5 series is like a good amount of heroes to watch on a Friday night, which is also a really cool thing. You don't have to dedicate a whole weekend to it. You don't have to dedicate time every weekend to it. You can see some high quality and competitive gameplay 2 times a month.
Right.
It's cool.
Yeah, and I do love the fact that they can choose to stay in and keep the pot boiling, growing like that. Because then
It's like,
there's
how
going to be
good do you
some.
think you are? And how
Yeah,
much do you want to risk rolling it over to try and get a bigger prize pool the next time?
There's going to be some really cocky team that gets up there and does this,
And
and then
loses
if
it.
they get upset and loses it, oh, it's going to be such. And yeah, I can just imagine the friendly, of course, I'm sure, trash talking going on with like the whole fight night theming and stuff. And yeah, this is going to be good for sure.
Yeah. So I'm real excited about that. But that's coming up, and again, this coming Monday, that should be announced on who we'll see facing each other, so we'll look forward to that. Now, it is on to our hero rework of the week. Yeah, let's say that.
Hero
Hero of the Week.
All right, Sylvanas. Good old Sylvanas. Sylvanas was bae for a real long time. Like we had a thing. She made me a turkey in one of our little cartoon things.
Yep.
But we've fallen out a little bit. She burned a big old tree down. Wasn't super happy with her.
Especially being Alliance.
And it wasn't my fault. It wasn't because she was cooking the turkey and she burned it down. Like, this was her own thing. So they reworked her. They announced her rework along with Stitches, of course, at BlizzCon. This has been out for several weeks now. I don't know how long, actually, but over a month, I would say. Right? Does that seem right?
Yeah,
That seems
somewhere
right.
around there.
Yeah, quite a
It
while.
was definitely post BlizzCon, but
Yeah.
it took a few weeks after. Yeah.
So it changed her quite drastically with how she feels. Mainly the changes to her Q. It being a 1 cast, it's going to shoot all 5 of them and at a much slower cadence. But there's been some cool builds come out of this. I will admit, this week's Hero of the Week, normally we do, for new heroes at least, a build that may not be the meta build. It may be the meta build, but really it's something that's easier to grasp and understand and get you into the feel for a hero. With a rework, and especially with how long Sylvanas has been out, this build is not a super easy build, and it's somewhat of an inconsistent build, and it's also
I don't
not
think
necessarily
any of her builds are super easy anymore, though.
It's true. And I don't know if part of that has to do with just the fact that I played her so much, and then just that Q, like throwing that really feels different. Like if it's just the feel is hard now, because it's not what I'm used to. But yeah, this build is it's really fun, and it's a mage Sylvanas build. I initially came across it from actually not Paradox. He did a YouTube video on this stuff, and just if you get a certain amount of stacks and everything, she can blow people up, and it's cool. TBK, I know you got to at least try it out in quick match.
Did.
How'd that go?
Not super well.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Not quick match friendly, or you just don't like the build in general?
It's not super quick match friendly, especially when your quick matches involve no tanks either game. That does make things a little rougher. Sylvanas, she's extremely squishy.
Yes.
She is paper thin.
Yes.
Honestly. And so it's the kill or be killed type thing. But if people have longer range abilities than you, you're really in a pickle.
Especially
I tried to fight Jaina.
Yes.
And bad. Ooh, yeah, that was a bad idea. I got deleted pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
It's this type of build, and especially this build is a very scaling build. And if your game goes a while, by the end of it, you are doing some pretty ridiculous damage with your W, because that thing is stacked like crazy. But
yeah,
which is fun. I at one point, like when we were talking about the rework initially, the W feels weird now for sure because of the way they changed how it functions and how it spreads, and a lot of the talents that go into that and that sort of thing. And so my initial takeaway on the W was just frankly that I didn't know what to do with it at that point, and it didn't feel great. But when you go this build and it's all about like building up the W and taking extra advantage of it, it can get pretty nuts. Yeah. The thing is though that you have to really, and I think this is true about Sylvanas now more than ever in general too, because she's so paper thin and because her range isn't great. Like you have to really stick your neck out to lane and go toe to toe.
So true.
I mean, they compensate this by having Haunting Wave, like you have an out, but
not anymore. Not in this build, you don't.
No.
So this build commits the cardinal sin of making you use your escape ability offensively.
Yeah.
That seems like a pretty cardinal sin.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and that's kind of why I'm calling this the mage build here. It's really, I've had games where I get under 100 stacks. I've had games where I'm over 200 stacks. Like it's and that's a quick match. Thing. Yeah. If you have like a team built around this, you'll have a much better time. But anyways, we'll get into it, and I'll talk about more as we go. So for level 1 here, this is the foundation of this build. We're going with Unfurling Shadows. This is a quest where each time you hit an enemy hero with 3 stacks of Banshee's Curse, its damage is permanently increased by 0.5%.
This is when you hit them with a Shadow Dagger.
Yes.
To be clear. The W.
Yeah. So starting out early game here, your Banshee's Curse are what applies to targets whenever you auto-attack them. It's not the easiest thing to do at level 1. So this build starts out kind of slow, and you just gotta kind of be patient with it. But ideally, you are auto-attacking a target 3 times. As soon as you get that stack, you throw a W on them, and then each time your Shadow Dagger ticks, its damage goes up by 0.5%. So I believe you can get, I don't know how many, if you get a full like cast on as soon as they hit 3, how many stacks you can get? Yeah, I think it's 5 or 6.
Yeah, seems about right.
Mm-hmm. So that would be 2.5% increase, which you could see how towards the longer this game goes on, it can get pretty heavy here. Level 4 is going to be a very situational type thing. I typically go Possession, just because at this point in the game, you're still typically laning. You can be solo laning at this point because you're not getting your 3 stacks of Banshee's Curse on multiple targets. It's just not the way to maximize getting those stacks of Unfurling Shadows. So Possession is just quicker to turn your lanes around, get bigger pushes.
And you get catapults now. I mean, it costs all 3 charges, but now
the catapults get early
could
catapults
be coming out
for sure
with Possession now.
So I do like Possession there, but I see some people go Unstable Poison as well, which just is better for wave clear. Level 7, this is where things are really going to get kicked up a notch. So this is going to be Festering Wounds. This increases Haunting Wave's damage by 25%. Haunting Wave also applies 3 stacks of Banshee's Curse.
So, okay, I see where you're going with this, but let me push back on it.
Mm-hmm.
When you take this, do you feel like you have to use it that way, or could you still just get your stacks going through basic attacks and whatnot.
If you are going to, for this build, you need to use it this way.
To stack it through the roof?
I think so. In my opinion, yes.
I feel like Lost Soul.
I feel like you could do a mixture of the two.
Yeah, I feel like Lost Soul could potentially be something without giving up your thing, because basic attacks against heroes with 3 stacks of Banshee's Curse reduce the cooldown of Shadow Dagger. So yeah, you're gonna get more Shadow Daggers off. And so maybe that balances it out without having to lose your escape.
In a you can go that route. In a quick match scenario, that may be the better way to go. But really at this point, you'll kind of know what the enemy team comp is and stuff, because with Festering Wounds, if you are able to hit, say, 2 people with that, the Shadow Dagger is then going to apply to them as well. So now you're getting stacks off of multiple people. So especially if you're playing with friends and stuff and can set these up to where you are also protected, or, just play back even further than you normally do, you can potentially get a crap ton of stacks off of this now, depending on how many people you're hitting with your Haunting Wave.
Yeah, I'm guessing it probably comes down to range, right? Like, how comfortable do I feel getting the basic attacks off to get the stacks up versus using... Because I could totally see the ease of just, especially in like a 4 lane, if you were pushing with people, just throwing out the wave, dropping the W on someone. I needed to experiment with this more.
Yeah, because
most people don't... most people don't necessarily try to avoid the wave when it's used offensively, because the wave itself doesn't do a whole lot of damage. So I could see that being, if you could hit 2 or 3 people with the wave, then throw the W out on one, but at the same time, you'd have to make sure that you hit through the wave, you hit the people, you can throw the W out, but then you can get the auto attack off on the W'd person so that the W spreads. Because with her rework, we have to remember that her W only spreads when you auto attack the initial person that you use to use the ability on.
Correct. Which, you're having to do to get if you go Lost Souls, to get the reduction and stuff as well. And I don't know, like, it really depends on if they have dive or not, because her auto attack range isn't super long, so you're still kind of putting yourself in danger with the auto attacks.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you would then still have the Withering Fire escape, but depending on CC and stuff, like, she's just not a super easy hero to play anymore, now that they're moving her into more of the team fight position. But the nice thing about this build is most people, I guess, haven't really seemed to catch on to what it is you're actually doing until it's too late. I've had a few games where they've caught on pretty soon and they just immediately start targeting me, or they're getting much better about dodging the waves and stuff, and it becomes a little bit more difficult. So in situations like that, Lost Soul could definitely be better. But just the amount of stacks that you can potentially get with Festering Wounds is nutso. All right. Level 10, it's kind of situational. I like Wailing Arrow more, especially now that Mind Control's a skill shot.
Yeah, fair point.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm almost 100% Wailing Arrow. It's range, long ranged. It's very strong. It does some damage, and the 2.5 second silence that can potentially hit 2-3 plus people is
long range and a decent detonation zone.
Yeah,
I mean, I've been a fan of it over Mind Control pretty much the whole time.
And actually, I will mention at 7 with the whole Festering Wound things, Robotics GG does point this out. You don't have to get that spread if it's not safe. You don't need to go in for that auto attack. You can just back out, because it is still...
Yeah, and just get the stacks off the single.
Yeah, it's an easy way to get those 5 or 6 stacks and then back out. Level 13 here, you got a couple of options. You can go Cold Embrace, where Shadow Dagger reduces the armor of the initial target by 25, and any enemy it spreads to by 10 for 2.5 seconds. Or you can also go Windrunner, which Haunting Wave can be cast a second time for free within 5 seconds after teleporting. Teleporting with Haunting Wave resets the cooldown of Withering Fire. I started out going Cold Embrace, and I actually think I still may like that better. But Windrunner has been kind of my first giving me escape without actually giving me escape, because if I see people coming towards me, I can then teleport towards the enemy where I was initially going and then throw another one back out and teleport back out or wherever. So it's not the best escape plan. You never really want to put yourself closer to the enemy, but you could if you had to. Whereas Cold Embrace, you're throwing that out enough anyways. The additional reducing armor by 25%, potentially more, by spreading that to targets is always a solid choice. 16 is going to be, hey, we're late game now. Now I kind of finally have an escape. Will of the Forsaken. This isn't activatable. You become unstoppable and gain 40% movement speed for 3 seconds.
So using that as your escape instead of your Banshees. Okay.
Correct. But yes, it is at level 16, which is not a great thing there. But at this point, your stacks should still be decently high. So, staying alive is the important thing, because if you're alive, you're doing more damage in the team fights. So, Will of the Forsaken is really good.
Staying alive at 16, how does Life Drain feel when you've stacked this high? Like, that's the one where you heal for 15% of damage dealt to enemies with 3 stacks of Banshee's Curse. You're getting your 3 stacks off easier with, things like Festering Wounds.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a lot? Like, are you truly?
It does seem like it would be pretty decent.
I honestly haven't tried it because Sylvanas is paper thin, and even if you're healing for a lot, if you're in the situation where they can get to you, you're probably going to die anyways. So I prefer the option. I prefer the option of them not getting to me.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Okay. But yeah, and then for level 20, is kind of situational as well. If you went with Wailing Arrow, you can go Deafening Blast if you're wanting the increased damage and the silence. Or if Will of the Forsaken was not enough, you can also always go Bolt of the Storm.
Yeah, and Bolt of the Storm you can use as a gap closer too if you have to as well. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I came across this. I wish I remembered some of the numbers. Not Paradox made this video where he just went into some dummies and stuff, and we're getting stacks. The amount of damage this does, literally, even if you only get to 100 stacks, that's 50% increased damage on your W. It is just silly. And if you are...
Especially if you can spread it.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, if you... Again, it's really hard to do in quick match, but if you're playing, Team League or playing with a couple friends, if you got a friend that's a tank or something, and you can set up, clumps with some CC or something of some sort, it just destroys everybody. And it's one of the more satisfying games you can have whenever you get a lot of stacks, because people just melt in front of your face.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So.
And you're talking anything, right? Tanks, whatever. Just melt.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So it's one of the more interesting builds I've ever done, because, it's so far the other direction, really, from what Sylvanas used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's cool, and I have a lot of fun with it. And if you haven't tried it yet, I know there are some variations on this. I've seen people post on HeroesHearth, like with Lost Soul and everything. It's definitely worth trying out, I think, if you do have Sylvanas, especially if you are in a 2 or 3 stack and have some communication.
Yeah, I think I've done this exact build except with Lost Soul, like you said. I've never gone the Festering Wounds route, but I definitely need to. You're kind of selling me on that.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you change your mindset to think, okay, I'm a mage. I'm like Jaina. I don't have any other escape until 16, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
I could change that mindset. I play some Jaina every now and then.
I'm actually, I'm intrigued to try Lost Soul now, because I really haven't done that, and I don't know. I feel like that would actually be harder for me to do, because her auto attacks isn't fast again. It's not a long range, so getting those stacks is fairly difficult, and you might be putting yourself in more danger to a gank unless you see it coming. Then you can still get away with your W, but it makes it real easy to get those stacks with Festering Wounds. So,
well, and you can spread the stacks, like you said.
Yeah.
So.
Royal Aid, so I was making a build before the show to link to them, but I didn't end up making it. I'm going to go back and make sure nobody else has actually made this build. If they have, I will link that. Like I'll put it on my Twitter, the Lords of the Storm Twitter. If not, I will make one on HeroesHearth, and then I'll link that. But I don't want to... This isn't my build. I found it from Not Paradox, and I don't want to steal it from somebody else if they already have it posted up there. But, yeah. It's my Sylvanas build.
I like it. Worth trying out.
Definitely. And I would say, give it a few tries, because it can be rough. Once you get that game, you're like 150 to 200 stacks, you'll be like, oh yeah.
It's all worth it.
Yeah.
If I can get this, 10% of my games are awesome. The other 90%, I'm not having any fun at all.
You know what? Those 10% are worth it. Those 10% are worth it.
Yeah.
I will say, just as a general Sylvanas tip, though, and this is just, they've obviously changed the approach of how you play her. You can go this mage route. If you go some of the other builds, it's not quite going as all into that, like the spreading of the Shadow Dagger and that sort of thing. You can go other routes, but just generally speaking, they've tuned her to be more about team fighting, more about putting out damage than obviously splitting and soaking lanes and pushing as she did. But I will say one thing that I have to admit still kind of gets me on her, even when I play her now, and it's that I do still sometimes forget to activate black arrows when I need to, like when I could get some actual structure damage in. Mm-hmm. Because the cooldown on this thing is 40 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Lasts for 10, so there really only is a 30-second window in which you don't have it available to you in one way or another.
Yeah.
And so I would say, like, if you've been paying attention to the Sylvanas changes and you know that all of this is different, your approach is different, and blah blah blah, still don't totally toss away the concept of, okay, but no, when I cap the Punisher, I can really push with this thing for a good 10 seconds. Or like we were just talking about with the catapults and the way that the lane pushing has changed with the new rules. I made the joke that, oh yeah, it's so good that they reworked Sylvanas, and it is true. We wouldn't want her just sitting in a lane with a catapult the whole game. That would suck. But you can still get some value out of stuff like that too. So just, I don't know. Maybe it's my Sylvanas noobishness showing through, but sometimes I forget to use those. Yeah,
it's definitely different having to think about it now. But after you get some games in, you pick back up on when to throw that out there. So, yeah.
Yep. Her whole thing was just a very big change.
Yes.
Just in general, it's one of the biggest, I think, base kit changes they've ever done in a rework.
Yeah, well, it was a role change.
She plays so differently now. So, yeah, it's interesting.
And that's where I still think it's going to be the first of a few of these as they shift more people out of the specialist space.
Yeah, and I think we'll see them do that on some, but I think others will kind of see as is because they would either fit into the support or assassin role more now. Like Nazebo, he's just a ranged assassin. They don't really need to do anything to change him.
But like Gazlo, he doesn't have a place really. I don't think he's either of those things.
Yeah, I mean he's got his little freaking laser build. That's the most annoying thing to play against.
He's got a freaking laser beam on his freaking head.
That thing can wreck people. That thing can wreck people.
Fair point. Okay.
But yeah, all right, let's move on to community content this week. TBK, what do you got?
Oh my gosh. I don't say super often that I must have this skin now. That's a lie. I say it for every skin that I put on the community content shout out. But especially this one, because holy crap, the Frost Lord Kerrigan, I linked it in chat. It's going to be in the show notes. If you're listening to this on audio, go to the show notes, lordsofthestorm.libsyn.com, and check this thing out by LW Goombang. It is a full paint over of a Kerrigan skin, and he has all the abilities, and oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. Like,
the Maelstrom is awesome.
Make this a holiday skin, 2019 holiday skin, Blizzard, please.
You've got the time.
There's even a Yeti Ultralisk.
Yep.
Like, oh my goodness.
It's real good.
It's so good.
Also just hire this person. Good. So yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. Like it's just, like I didn't think they'd be able to top the like legendary Kerrigan skin. This is just as good.
Oh,
as
easily.
the legendary Kerrigan. Yeah, it's incredible.
Well,
like,
the effects in game would have to be out of this world too.
Massive props because this is a beautiful skin concept. So big props. Secondly, as always, Hawkray is just so good, and he's back with an Imperious video, and it is so good.
This might be my favorite one he's ever done.
Yeah, Hawkray does these just crazy, I guess I could say like anime-like type crazy hype videos for heroes, and he's done it again with Imperious. It's so good. You need to go watch it. It's hilarious. And speaking of things you need to go watch, Carbot is at it again. And this is probably one of my favorite Carbot Hero Storm videos. Yeah. It's focusing on White Mane this time. I don't want to spoil anything because you just need to watch it.
I mean, if you say Carbot and White Mane, yeah, you know what this one's about.
Yeah.
Well, it is called Laughter is the Best Medicine, so that should give you a hint.
So good. So
but yeah,
good.
I don't want to spoil it either because the second half of this is just perfect.
Yep. Check it out.
Perfect.
Check it out.
All right. Well, that's about gonna do it for this episode, old episode 200.
Yeah. Crazy.
Man. Yeah. I guess you just don't want it to end. But I guess before we get out of here, Multi, why don't you let people know where we can be reached?
Well, if it makes you feel better, it wasn't a short one.
Yeah, that's true.
It made it work. And we even said that in the chat before. Oh, this looks like it might be. But yeah, again, that's the meme now. So yeah, you can find us several ways, though, for sure. You can find us on twitch.tv/HeroesHearth, live Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Central. And we're also on Twitter, Facebook, Patreon, all at Lords of the Storm for all of those. And to anyone who's, again, even thought about giving to the Patreon, we thank you. And, of course, to those of you who continue to month after month, it just means quite a bit to us for sure. Especially around now on the 200th episode. Yeah, you can find us in-game as well by typing /join space LOTS, or you can join our Discord, bit.ly/LotsDiscord. Or you can email us with feedback or questions or, contest entries, lordsofthestorm@outlook.com. And if you want as well, another great way you can help out the show for totally free would be to leave us a review, preferably a positive one. But, I mean, honestly, constructive criticism, cool too.
For sure. You can also find us individually. You can find myself on Twitter, Twitch, HeroesHearth, all those things at Gizmozord, as well as occasionally on Convert Trade Presents the BattleNet News, the World of Warcraft podcast about all things Blizzard. Multi, where can you be found?
You can be found on Twitter at Multizord, and I'm also on another show called Hearth Casual, which is about Hearthstone with Brian Black Rowe from Real Maintenance. And yeah, we've got a full episode this week for sure. There's not a ton of news happening right now in Hearthstone, but we've both been dipping back into Wild and such, so it should be good. Should be good.
All right, and TBK?
You can find me on Twitter at TBKZord and all the other Heroes Hearth things. Check that out. And since everyone's plugging a secondary show, you can also check me out on our D&D podcast.
That's right.
+5 to hit.
You should mention that more often.
I should.
I started out trying to get you to plug that. I would always be like, "Hey, what's that D&D thing you're on?" And you do it a couple times, and you never do it again. So finally,
it's been a lot of fun. It's plus PLUS and the number 5 to hit. You can find that on where all wonderful podcasts are curated. It's me and Thorn from Legging Balls and Brian or Rowe from that other podcast that Multi was talking about, as well as Realm Maintenance.
Yeah, I forget what it's called.
As well as Jeff Reynolds, who I mentioned earlier in the show, who used to do Heroes Forge, and our fabulous DM, Brian Howard. So it's been a lot of fun. We release episodes usually every 2-ish weeks. depending on how schedules go, because you know how adult schedules go.
Those kind of shows are kind of the hotness right now. I mean, there's
They
you guys,
do
there's
seem to be.
there will be dungeons rather, and like one of my good buddies is on RPPR, the role playing public radio.
Oh yeah,
which is a huge podcast and stream of that sort of thing. So I mean, it's a thing, man. I say keep plugging it for sure.
Yeah,
you got to stack.
It's a lot. It's a lot of fun. I play a bard, and we all know how. Yep, it's wonderful. Super funny. And it's a great group of guys. So if you're into D&D podcasts, definitely go check that out.
For sure. All right, that's gonna do it for this week's episode. But before we get out of here and move on to our post-show game, I do want to give a few special thanks. Again, first and foremost, to all the listeners out there. We just can't thank you guys enough for supporting us and allowing us to make it to 200 episodes in 4 years. We really do appreciate it.
Some of them have stuck around the whole time, or damn near.
Yeah,
I'm looking at you, L Train, and definitely some others.
It's crazy.
But also a special thanks to our mod and chat Wicked Kitten for handling all the codes, Blizzard for supplying us with the codes, HeroesHearth organization for allowing us to be a member of that family, and to our patron producer Ouroboros-Sword for helping to support the show. Thank you all very much, and we'll see you all next week for episode 201, next Wednesday at 9 p.m. Central, right here at twitch.tv/HeroesHearth. Have a good one.
Enough. I shall do no more.